Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second year of the Mediterranean Diet Roundtable um, Library of Champions. And this year we have 7 amazing brands that have rejoined us to participate in our events, the MDR Connect events, and these live interviews that you'll be watching. I'd like to thank Daniela Puglielli, who is the founder of the MDR and whose brainchild this Evo library has been born, and I'm very proud to be part of it as I have in the last 2 years. This year has been a busy year for all of us. Post-COVID, the trade shows are back. We're back meeting with customers. And most importantly for me, I have launched my book. I think I teased everybody last year that it was coming. It's now officially published. Extra Virgin Olive Oil, The Truth in Your Kitchen by David Newman, Evo guy, me. And it recaps the 17 years journey that I've had in extra virgin olive oil as 2 brands, president and CEO, partner, as well as a 4-year consultant, running a tasting tour, and now having my own brand and my book. So I really encourage you to look for this book on my website, evoguy.com, or Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or in selected stores. Really, very excited, and it's a really good read. Also, I'm really excited to announce our guest who's joining me on the screen here is Maria Reyes from Casa de Hualdo, which is a premier producer in Spain. Maria joined the company a couple years ago, and she is the vice president of the North American business, and that encompasses everything from the importing, distributing, selling, managing the business, growing the business. And it's a pleasure to work with Maria, as we have together for many years in her prior role at KeHE Foods. And now, having run her olive oil brand for a couple of years, we are, partners in crime in the war of bad olive oil and the promotion of good olive oil. And that's what we're here today to talk about, is great olive oil by Casa de Hualdo. This platform allows them to talk to you, the viewer, about what they're working on. We're going to taste some of their oils, and we're going to give you some inside peeks into what's coming up new for Casa de Hualdo. Casa de Hualdo, I discovered it in 2018 when I was at the World Olive Oil Expo with Maria, actually. And I was looking for clients. I decided to go on my own and start helping some international brands that have had a hard time breaking into the US. And I met with Christina, who is their export director, and Jose, who's the general manager. And in short order, I was retained by them to help them introduce their product to the US. I went over there for that harvest, and I tasted their oils and started bringing their oils to people like Maria, who was in the buying chair then. And these are oils that are spectacular. I don't know how to put it any other way, but there are bad oils, there are fair oils, there are good oils, there are acceptable oils, there's better oils, there's great oils, and then there's exceptionally best, the top. Casa de Hualdo is at the top. They are a Fla Soleil, which is the Michelin Guide book of olive oil that ranks the top 500 brands in the world. They're at the top of the list, 100 out of 100 score Fla Soleil. Can't get any better than that. There is no 101. We're going to talk about some of their products today. Most notably, what I think is their best product, which is the Reserva, all numbered bottles, and it's a coupage that Maria will talk a little bit about, the blend, as well as their organic that they introduced a little after I started. We talked about the importance of organic, and they do have organic part of their farm. And what I love about Casa de Hualdo is they're completely vertically integrated. They don't buy olives, they don't buy oil. They grow everything on their groves near Toledo, Spain. They harvest it, it goes right to the mill within 20 minutes. I've seen it. The mill's running, the trucks come, they dump it. It's produced immediately, goes into silos with nitrogen. Can't get any better than that, guys. It's an early harvest, green olive, focusing on the main cultivars of Spain: Picual, Manzanilla, Cornicabra, and Arbequina, of different intensities. And they actually produce those in 250s, 250 mLs. This is the Cornicabra, the Arbequina. And these are delightful. They're affordable. They're easy to use. And if you read my book, part of one of the chapters is don't buy more oil than you're going to need to use in the next 30 to 60 days, because the oil does not get any better the minute you open that cap. You've introduced air into the bottle. starts to corrode the oil. So a smaller bottle is fine if you're a small household and don't use a lot of oil. If you use a lot of oil, you're a bigger household, go to these 500 mLs. So it's excellent that Casa de Hualdo offers both sizes. So without any further ado, I'd like to have Maria tell us a little bit about the brand and her journey here in the last couple of years. And then we're going to ask some questions that I prepared, and we're going to taste some oils together. So Maria, if you could tell us a little bit about what Casa de Hualdo means to you now, having been a buyer and now running the brand and growing the U.S. business. What is Casa de Hualdo really, and how is it important to the people that are watching this today?
Well, thank you, David. And thank you and Daniela and the MDR group for having me and Casa de Hualdo this interview and talking about not only Casa de Hualdo, but incredible quality, top of the pyramid, right? Extra virgin olive oil. I started with Casa de Hualdo actually in September, will be 3 years. Casa de Hualdo is a new brand, fairly new brand that was launched in the US. And, you know, when you were with them back, I believe in January 2019. So 3 years have gone by very fast. Obviously, we know what the first 2 years of that entailed for all of us. And it hasn't been easy to say the least, but to answer your question directly, what is me having come from being a buyer or a category manager for KeHE distributors for many years, and now as a responsible for the company and building the brand here in the US, I can tell you that there's only one company I would have worked at retiring from my 41-year corporate job, and that is Casa de Hualdo. And the reason for that is because I seen firsthand with my own eyes, not to mention what you told me about it when you came and presented the brand to me, but what you told me about it, what they do and what they represent. And that pride and, you know, how they manage that farm and how they treat the products and what they believe in is something that is very important. And unfortunately, you know, the consumers, not just in the US, but most consumers never get to see, you know, what you and I have experienced. And so the message and the mission that you've undertaken for many years, as well as myself in different roles, is to communicate and teach that. You know, if we can, you know, change one consumer and that one consumer can change another, you know, then we've done our job. And so what it means to me is I'm very honored to be part of building the brand of Casa de Hualdo here in the US as my second career.
That's really exciting. And the groves, I believe that's in behind you is an image of the groves. And
it's just one section.
One small section.
Yeah.
It is absolutely enormous. Maybe you know the number of trees. I know it's in the hundreds of thousands of trees.
Yes, it's actually about a 1,000-acre farm. We have about 300,000 trees of 4 different varietals that you mentioned: Arbequina, Picual, DOP Cornicabra, and Manzanilla, which is very unique and somewhat rare, really. So it's about 300,000 trees, which is pretty amazing. Some might think that's a very, you know, large amount of trees, but it's really a small farm when all is said and done.
But what people don't know is that you don't use harvesters that the high density production do. It's mostly in Spain and in California and Australia, where the big truck drives over these trees that are packed in a row, and basically one guy can pick 10 acres in an hour. These are all done with hand-assisted pickers and boogies that shake the tree. That's a lot of trees to hit in like 30 to 60 days.
And you know what you describe is that high density, right? That is used like in places like in California and Australia and in Spain, obviously. But yeah, we use those harvester that has that umbrella that wraps it around the trees, and then it kind of just shakes it gently, and the never touch the ground. You know what we do, you know, if you look at those labels, in front of every label we put from harvest to extraction 6 hours, and sometimes it's even less than that. It depends where the trees are within the estate. Could be as low as, you know, a lot less than 6 hours. You know, because our mill, we own the mill, and the mill resides in the middle of the farm, we can say that. And honestly, I've yet to see, and maybe you know of a brand, but I don't know of a brand in the last 10 years or the last 12 years now that I've been doing this, overall in my career, I don't know of a brand that does that. And there might be one out there, I don't know, but that's an important factor because that factor represents freshness and
Right.
care for the olive and the ultimate oil that is extruded from that olive.
Right. I have talked about that extensively. If you follow us last year on these conversations, I write about it extensively in my book, that the minute that olive is picked off the tree, the clock is ticking. The olive will never get better. The oil will never get better. So the sooner you pick it, the faster it gets into the mill, the better you clean it, the proper way of crushing it, separating it, filtering it, storing it. If those metrics are all achieved, you have a fantastic oil. But as Maria just said, it's rare. And I can tell you, I have been in hundreds and hundreds of mills. They call them frantoios in Italy. I have seen some of the dirtiest, most disgusting mills that are still producing oil that we have on our shelves. And I have seen spectacular, clean, efficient mills in the middle of the fields where the olives really just go a couple miles and they're immediately put into the mill. So there's no time for them to corrode or to get defects like fusty. When the olives sit in a big truck too long, they get fermented. You get the anaerobic fermentation. Fusty is a defect. And I can smell fusty a mile away. And people still bottle fusty oil, even though it's not allowed for sale. That never happens in a grove, in a mill like Casa de Hualdo because they're too efficient. I even have in my book, I'm proud to say, a picture of me kneeling at harvest in a pile. Of course, there's a black and white photo, a pile of the green olives that came right off the tree. So you can see this is still a very manual method. This is not, a high density. We're using machinery. This is still kind of, to me, an old world method of each tree being serviced. And Maria is forgetting to say that they have a team of people that have these big, long, movable fingers with a battery backpack.
Yes.
And whenever the boogie couldn't shake off the tree, they don't want to waste those olives. So they're up there kind of poking at the branches to get those little gems to fall down before they go on to the next tree. Absolutely amazing.
Impressive to see. It's impressive to see. And then when you see that, you can really appreciate the value of, why these types of oils cost more per ounce than other oils the market is flooded with. And and the people working those fields, they work very hard because this is not something that it takes months to harvest. You really got to start at a certain time early in October, and by December you're done because that's a lot of trees, 300,000 trees in a short period of time.
Well, we know if it gets a frost on it, that there's another defect. It's frozen. If these olives go too far into the winter, they'll freeze. And brands do pick frozen olives and they do crush them, and it does have a defect. If it's too hot, you get the olive fly, and that's another defect. That's grubby. So a brand that has exceptional oil, that puts a lot of time and money into production like Casa de Hualdo does, that oil cannot be considered the same as another bottle that you see in the grocery store that says extra virgin. That's $5.99 or $6.99, and theirs is $11.99 for a small bottle, or maybe $20 for a big bottle. You got to remember the work and the time that goes into producing that bottle. Those trees produce maybe 10 bottles, 5 liters, 10 bottles of oil. That's it for a whole year of pruning and growing and irrigating, trimming. 5 liters, 10 bottles, 10 17-ounce bottles of oil. That's it. So it requires an enormous amount of investment and time. So Casa de Hualdo, Maria, is a big international company with distribution all over the world, and America's the newer market. What do you find is the difference between the Casa de Hualdo I think we lost Maria. Let me see if she'll call back in. So I will continue while she's calling back in on the line. But Casa de Hualdo is sold. They have an export manager that I know that works the European market, Switzerland, and Germany are big markets for them. I believe they do quite a good business in Asia as well. So that's a great business. But Maria has been trying to grow this business, not just in natural food specialty retailers, but also in supermarkets, the kind of chains that are looking to expand their curated set, but haven't had the kind of oils that have reliable distribution, that have a fair price, that are that are going to stay on the shelf for a long time if needed, in proper packaging, and the support that a brand needs. I'm really excited that my partnership with Casa de Hualdo has been now many years, and that they have been part of the MDR library for the last 2 years as an inaugural member. But I want to be able to, and I guess Maria is maybe having trouble with her internet, so I'm going to keep going in the spirit of time here. Here she is back here. Maria's business is not just at retail. Thank you. Welcome back, Maria. I was talking about some of your international distribution. Your business is not just in bricks and mortar, but you have really cultivated an interesting e-commerce business, which is fairly new to kind of premium olive oils. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing on that e-commerce side?
Yes. Right after I started with the company in 2020 came along, everything kind of stopped, and the retailers, just kind of stopped because they were trying to keep up with what was happening on demand on their end. I knew that I had to speed up the plan that was going to take place later on, and kind of bring it to fruition. And that was our e-commerce business, our online shop and Amazon. And, we launched it officially, I believe it was October 2020, and then the shop and then Amazon back in December 2020. And it's done fantastic. We use a very strong influence to launch that platform of our online shop. And that really helped us, create a very successful business. And what has happened over the last 2 years is that we continue to get orders on a very steady basis every month. Some are direct, some are from our marketing emails, once a month marketing emails, but a lot of it is our direct and organic. And that's very important because those are mainly new customers. And so what I have learned from this over the last 2 years is that, number one, for this type of product, an e-commerce business is extremely important. And not just Amazon, but to have your own shop. So it's basically, instead of having a brick and mortar shop, you have a virtual shop. So more so than Amazon, with so many olive oil brands. So number two, consumers are willing to buy quality virgin olive oil online because they don't really have it readily accessible to them in their brick and mortar stores.
Right.
So that's very important. And again, I think, I believe, based on what I've experienced, that it was a positive decision to expedite that project, and that we're doing very well with it, and the consumers want the product. So when I talk to a buyer at a retailer, sometimes they do ask if you do well online, right? They want to know. And if they don't ask, I tell them this product does very well in our online shop and in Amazon. And that is something that they're interested in. So this year has given us, now that the market has opened up since January regarding industry events and retailers as well, we've gained more distribution in the last 6 months than we did the previous 2 years combined. And that's very important for the brand. It's very strategic distribution. It's not just anywhere. So, I'm very proud of that as well. And we'll continue to see more success with the brand.
Excellent. I want to taste a couple of your oils while we have time left.
Okay.
And I want to start with the organic. And what's interesting about this organic oil is, one, of course, it's packed with nitrogen. It's in the dark glass. It has a European top, which really reduces the amount of air that can get in, and also makes it unrefillable. So this can't be found in a restaurant where they're going to fill it with some other kind of junky oil.
And all of our bottles have that.
They all have that cap. It's a very expensive cap. But beyond that, this bottle, I think, is from the 2020, 2021 harvest. So this bottle now would be 2 years old.
Yep.
This
Still in date.
Still in date. The best before date is a March of 23. But as I write in my book, those best before dates, are pretty arbitrary because there are bad brands that put 2 years on it, and there are great brands that put 2 years on it. How can a bad brand that has a terrible oil hold up for 2 years when a fantastic oil puts the same 2 years? So that's always a question mark for me. What I write about in my book significantly is you got to learn to trust your nose and your mouth. They're the only way you're going to really understand quality. And you could say, well, it's a 2020 harvest. I want the newer oil. Well, let's see. When you have your sample, which I poured in this glass about 15 mLs, which is a tablespoon, and I'm using the traditional blue glass, and I just cover the glass with my hand, create a tight seal, and I basically move the oil around. And I've learned this obviously as a professional olive oil taster. I've gone to the Onal School in Italy now for 11 years, and I've risen to the level of professional taster. 3 of us in America and about 35 in the world. So I've warmed the oil up. It could use a little bit more time using my body temperature to try to warm the glass. And what that does is it creates more aromatics for us to smell. And the first part of tasting is smelling. And I can tell you that this oil has an unbelievable bouquet. I mean, it's so fragrant and so herbaceous. And the trick that I have taught people is if you can smell the oil from your chin, it's a robust oil. And if you have to bring it up to kind of your lips, that would be a medium intensity oil. And then if you don't have the smell there and you have to go all the way in, that would be a mild oil. So this to me is kind of a high medium. I can smell it from my lower lip here. So that would make it a 5 out of 10 on intensity, which is a really good number to be at because it's not too aggressive, but it still has a good fruitiness. But what I can't tell by smelling, which primarily helps me with the fruitiness, I smell tomato leaf, I smell green grass. It's got a really nice smell to it, but I have to then verify the bitterness and pungency. Bitterness is a feeling in my mouth, is a taste, and pungency is not a taste. It's a anatomical reaction in the back of your throat from the polyphenols that react to your T3s in the back of your throat. Pungency is kind of pepperiness, and bitterness, as we all know, is kind of bitter. But these are the telltale signs of quality. Now, again, this oil is 2 years old. So there's no defects, there's no rancidity, nothing. But I'm going to confirm with my mouth. And as we taste, if you haven't tasted before, I don't drink olive oil. I just put a little in my mouth and move it around my palate. I'm picking up the bitterness or the flavors. And then I start to aerate it by slurping. And I'm forcing the air over my tongue, over the oil while it's in my mouth. And it's basically vaporizing in the back of my throat. And if it's got a high pungency, it will tickle or feel like maybe little bee stings. It may make you cough, but that's I call it a good cough. It's a good hurt. That tells you that the polyphenols are very active in here. So I'm going to taste this oil, and while I'm tasting it, Maria, if you can tell us what is the blend in this particular organic that you use on the farm?
Yes, that is an Arbequina and Gual. And, you can, the importance of what you were saying about the fact that oil is from the pre-harvest, not from the 2021, but from 2020, and how it tastes. And, that it's so viable, that oil, 2 years later. It's all, the credit goes back to everything that's done farm in a 12-month process, right? And lovely that it makes you cough because that's what we want to look for. And so
it's obviously still excellent. Now remember,
and David, let me correct something. It's my mistake. I was thinking of our 3-liter 10 Arbequina Pequot. Actually, the organic is Arbequina and Cabra, which is our DOP product.
Okay.
The Corne Cabra, and the Corne Cabra is it's very robust, as you know. So
right. So how you get the medium is Arbequina is mild and a Corne Cabra is robust, and when they blend them correctly, you end up with a medium intensity, which is where the bulk of the consumers are going to want it. So
it's a very special oil. It's very versatile. I mean, it can be used on anything.
Absolutely. And the only way that I would know this oil isn't brand new is it's a little bit thicker in the mouth. A younger oil is a little bit thinner, and that happens with every oil. It's like as we get older, we turn gray. As oil gets older, it turns a little bit thicker. So no one knows that, but people like me that are olive oil nerds. But the flavor, the fruitiness, the bitter, the pungent, the balanced oil. It's a balanced oil. It means the bitter and the pungent are not more than 2 intensity points away from fruity. So
Yeah,
it's fruity, bitter, pungent.
it's really an incredible product. And up until now, up until last month, actually, it was only being sold online in both our online shop and Amazon.
Right.
And Central Market just brought it in to their 10 stores in the Texas region. And they are the first retailer to bring it in.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful oil. And I want to move on
Thank
to the Reserva, which is actually my favorite. It's a beautiful bottle. I helped them kind of evolve away from the original bottle, which was not a retailer-friendly bottle. It's tall and skinny like they have in Spain. This is their trademark bottle with their logo. This is all etching, which is very expensive. This
Beautiful.
is a painted bottle. This is not a label. If you notice, this is a label on a dark glass. This is painted. So this would probably be 90% UV block. This would be 100% UV block.
Yeah, there's no wrapping on the bottle.
There's no air. This is painted bottle with etching. Each bottle is numbered with the harvest year and the number of the bottles. It's got the use by date.
It is a limited production.
Limited production. Their name again is etched in the bottom here. So this is a beautiful bottle that I would love to put on my table for my guests. But again, pretty bottles are not what people want. Great olive oil is what people want. Pretty bottle helps, but the quality of the oil is really what people want. And again, I poured it into a different blue glass. I warm it up as I've done, and I'll speed through that because, in the essence of time, I smell it, and it has a similar but distinctly different aroma. And Maria can tell us what these cultivars are in here.
Yes, so those cultivars is a coupage of all 4 cultivars, Tequila, Picual, Cornicabra, and Manzanilla. And it's a special blend done at the beginning of harvest. Specific olives are picked of each of those 4 varietals the first week of harvest. And that's what that oil is comprised of. So that's another reason why it's a limited production. I believe we produce a little bit over 5,000 bottles each year.
And this was only 89, so I got a really young bottle.
Oh, that's a nice one.
And it's similar because it does have the Cornicabra and Arbequina in it, like the organic, but it also has the Picual, which is one of my favorites. It's got a very unique signature of an aroma and flavor that I pick up in this bottle. And then, of course, the Manzanilla is pretty aggressive as well. So this is balanced. It has, to me, a little bit more flavor than the organic. I like the coupage. It was really expertly blended. Obviously, it's fresher only because it was last year's harvest, not the year before. So the point I wanted to make is they have a 2-year-old bottle that would beat most of the bottles that were a year old, not 2 years old.
Yes.
Still perfectly fresh and within code. This is the most recent harvest, and it is absolutely delightful. And what would this bottle be kind of on your website for sale? What would the price be?
It's about $29, $30. And honestly, that bottle could sell anywhere a lot more, a lot more.
Right. And what people don't realize is there's 33 servings in a 17-ounce bottle at 15 ml, which is the specified amount on the back of all oil labels is 15 ml. That's 33 servings for $30 is just under $1 a serving. You can't get anything for $1 anymore. Okay. So to be able to have a high polyphenolic, healthy olive oil, which is probably 700 or 800 polyphenols, that still tastes fresh and green, that embellishes your food with beautiful flavors and aromas. You can't get any better than that. And that's what makes Casa de Hualdo such a special brand. And I'm very proud to be aligned with it. So to bring home this whole Casa de Hualdo story, tell us what your new venture is, and then I'll tease them about what's to come at the new harvest.
Okay. So, I mean, now, like I said, we've gained more distribution in the last 6 months than we had the first 2 years I was with the company, and that's very important. So it's very important to focus on that and build that. As you know, in the industry, you don't just put it on the shelf and you walk away.
Right.
It's harder to keep it on the shelf than it is to get it there, as hard as it is to get it there. So additionally, obviously, there's other strategic retails that on the plan that we want to gain going into 2023. Continue to build and focus our online business. That's extremely important. We have other projects that are on my list here for the here in the US. We're launching the cheese. We actually just launched our cheese products at the Fancy Food Show in June in New York. This year, we wanted to see what kind of interest there would be, and there was a very strong and positive interest. So this is on the way. It's due to arrive actually next week at our importer's warehouse, and the market that it's being launched at is going to be there in the Metro New York City area. The cheese is going to be a lot more limited when it comes to distribution here in the US. We have to be very careful with it. It is very special. One thing we didn't mention, David, is that at the farm, it is a full working farm. We have a herd of 2,000 Manchega sheep, and we just finished completing the production facility where that cheese is being made right at our farm. Right. So a lot of things always taking place at the farm. And, you know, here in the US, you know, we just got to continue to focus on building positive, sustainable growth for the brand. Yeah. And now, you know, seeing what we can do with the cheese and building relationships and getting that message out there about quality products from a very sustainable, viable, regenerative farm back in Spain.
Yeah, and the brand is Queso de Hualdo.
It's Hualdo cheese.
Hualdo cheese, okay.
Yes.
It is fantastic. I was privileged to go there last October. I went on a Spain trip, and I was a guest of theirs, and I walked in I think it just opened, the production, and it's amazing. The cheeses that they're producing there are super special. And as Maria said, you know, there's a whole world that wants that cheese. So they're going to get allocated but so much in the first year. So if you have an opportunity to get your hands on some, you know, if you want some special, I mean, you can definitely find Maria's email or on LinkedIn and contact her about how do you find this cheese. Because if you're a cheese lover, this is the cheese for you, for sure. I'm very proud to say that, and this is the first announcement of this, that my Evo Guy Simone oil that I've had produced by another very reputable producer in Spain for the last 4 harvests, I'm moving this harvest to Casa de Hualdo. And we are going to be in a partnership, co-branded, Evo Guy and Casa de Hualdo, making my Picual early harvest on their farm. It'll come in a round bottle, a Dorca bottle, instead of the bottle that it's in today, but it's still going to be the same or better spectacular Picual. And I think it's going to actually be at a better retail because they are very efficient in the way that they manufacture. That reduces cost. That means less to me, which means less to the consumer. So I'm pretty much sold out of my Simone oil this year already, thanks to my PR in my book. I do have Casa de Hualdo's brand on my site now to kind of fill in. And then at the new harvest, I've asked them to produce it and ship it me pallet immediately. Hopefully I could get it before Christmas. I'm not sure. And then we would be back in business with the Simone oil, but this time with Casa de Hualdo as my partner in producing it. And I'm super proud. Actually will be there in November to tour the farm again. And I'm toting along a photographer to take professional photos of me and of the bottle and of the estate and the mill that I can use in all of the marketing of the Simone oil.
And we're very proud and honored to be your partner and collaborator with your brand, David. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And if people ask me, like, is it a conflict that you have a Simone oil Picual from Casa de Hualdo and they have their Picual from Casa de Hualdo? I would rather you buy their bottle. But if you don't have access to their bottle, or you have read my book and you want to try my oil, I only just sell it on my website. It's not on Amazon. It's not in stores. It's a hobby. It's a passion project. I give away probably more bottles than I sell. I actually just shipped one today to a guy that I work with who told me he's always wanted to try my oil, and I just sent him a bottle that I had left over from last harvest. If you're an olive oil guy like me, you should have an olive oil. Even if it's not a big business, you should still say, I have created an olive oil that I'm super proud to have my name on, as I am with Casa de Hualdo to have my name on their bottle this year. So I want to thank you, Maria. And as we wrap up, I want to remind everybody that the website for Casas de Hualdo is casasdehualdonorthamerica.com. And it's a mouthful, but if you start typing in Casas de Hualdo or Google it, it'll come up with that website. You also have the social media, I believe, pages.
Yes, please follow us on Facebook, Casa de Hualdo Facebook. It's called Casa de Hualdo USA. The page, of course, we have our Instagram account, Casa de Hualdo. Visit our shop, shop.casasdehualdo.com. Tremendous product you can buy directly. Great sale going on right now because we're trying to move out of that harvest because harvest starts in October.
Yeah.
So yes, please. And you can find me on LinkedIn and feel free to reach out anytime.
Right. And that's a very important point as we wrap up. Don't be afraid to stock up on good oil, even though the new harvest is coming. That oil is not going to be in the market till probably February or March anyway, because they have to, it's first in, first out. So the last year's harvest oil still is good till 2024. So they're going to sell that oil first before the new harvest anyway. So as I've written in my book, and I've referred to that a few times, I say in the book, if you have a brand that you like and trust, and it goes on sale, buy a lot of bottles, because these bottles have nitrogen in them. There's no air, so it's not corroding. If you keep it in a dark location, out of light and out of heat, away from heat, these bottles will last until 2024, 2025, and you can give them as gifts. So stock up now on a brand that I can confirm is an excellent brand. And if it's on sale, it means it's an excellent price. Buy those bottles, stock up, have them for your holidays, give them as gifts. And then when the new harvest comes in, hopefully you've used that oil and you get back into the new harvest.
Right.
You know, again, you're a friend. We've worked together for over a decade. We've traveled around the world to different harvests. We both work for Casas de Hualdo in different ways. And I'm really proud to have you kick off our second year of the MDR library as a champion brand. I can't say enough about what you guys do from nuts to bolts. It's one of the best producers in the world, if not the best producer in the world. So please, everybody, follow them, buy their product, write Maria if you have questions. You can always write me at david@evoguy.com. Casas de Hualdo is on my website as a recommended brand. And as well as in my book, they're a recommended brand that's printed in my book. And you can get this again at my website, Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And definitely read it. Buy a couple copies, and we also sell wholesale for 20 books in a case for if you want to give them to friends or brokers, even sell them on your website. Maria, thank you again. I know we went a little bit longer than we planned, but I think everything we talked about is so important for people that are watching this. I think last year we had over 10,000 people watching this, so we know that we are communicating something to a large number of people, and hopefully they're sharing it. Really
Thank you, David. Thank you for being sorry that, you know, technology kicked me off the platform, but it's a pleasure having speaking with you and the audience, and could probably be here for another 2 hours talking about all the activities at the farm and the category itself. So thank you again, and until next time.
Thank you very much. And everybody, next week or so, I'll have another brand from the MDR library joining us. But again, this was Maria Reyes, who is the Vice President of the North American business for Casas de Hualdo. Buy that oil. Thank you very much, Maria, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right.
It went good.
Internet.
It went great. So
hopefully they can edit a good chunk of that.
Well, what I did was I didn't stop when I lost you because I knew you would come back.
Oh, good.
And so hold on. They're gonna, hold on.
Oh, you hit record.